You're probably going to quit your New Year's resolution. And that's not me being negative, that's me being accurate. Most people don't quit because they're lazy, they quit because they never changed who they are. They just tried to borrow a new behavior for 2 weeks like a rental car. And when the excitement wears off, the old identity takes the wheel again. Welcome to 2026. This is not the year for cute goals. This is the year for identity surgery. This is the reason you quit. This is the real reason you quit. People treat change like a hobby. Like, yeah, I'll go to the gym after work, after I scroll, after I feel like it. But if you're actually trying to change your life, that should be the main mission, not a side quest you attempt between dopamine hits. New Year's resolutions are usually just public relations for your own ego, a performance, a status game, because human beings would rather impress strangers than become the person they secretly respect. And the worst feeling isn't failing. The worst feeling is making a promise to yourself and watching yourself break it again. Until you start believing you can't be trusted. That's not a productivity problem. That's an identity problem. I had an ex girlfriend who would kind of do something like this. She would always tell me that she was going to do something and then she doesn't. She would always justify and always say, "Oh, I would do it after this." She had these goals, this vision that she wanted to do. These, and I'm not going to get too deep into that, but what they specifically are. But it was always it's the behaviors what I want you to focus on, because she was one of a million people who does this all the time. Oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, what are we going to do to get there? Oh, I would do it when such and such happens. I would do it after such and such. There was an event coming up. I want to stop drinking after New Year's. It was always something. And it's irritating to people like me. That's exactly why we didn't work out. Anyways, you're not there because you're not that person yet. You aren't where you want to be because you aren't the person who would be there. Let me say that again. You aren't where you want to be because you aren't the person who would be there. Most people focus on actions. Actions are second order because identity is the operating system. Behavior is the app. You can't run new software on a corrupted operating system. Think about a bodybuilder. Do you think they grind to eat healthy? No. They would have to grind to eat like trash. They would have to force themselves to live your old life, their old life. The CEO doesn't have to discipline themselves to lead. They'd have to discipline themselves to sleep in, to coast, to rot, to bed rot. That's what people don't understand. When you see someone disciplined, it's like they're dying when they're doing something that's a total opposite of who they are actually becoming. You're watching a person whose identity makes the behavior natural. That's what it's all about. And that's what I'm saying about my ex. Like, her behavior was most of her behavior was self-destructive, counterproductive ways, and she would justify why she did not want to stop doing those things. She knew she wanted to get better, but there was always a reason why she couldn't get better, because it was going to be like she had to kill something within her for her to actually become for her to become that individual, for her to stop doing those self-destructive, counterproductive ways. And that's the same case for a lot of different people who are slaves to bad habits. That's why you need to kill it. That's why I talk about DE, die every day. If you really want to evolve as a person, you literally have to be obsessed with your evolution, that you are going to kill who you were yesterday. And you're every single day, you are going to be obsessed with reborn, reincarnation, evolving every single day of your life. A lot of people don't have the courage to do that. So when you see someone disciplined, have self-control, that's the key. And here's the key sentence. If you want a specific outcome, you must live the lifestyle that creates the outcome long before you reach it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If you can't wait to go back to your old habits once you hit the goal, you're not changing, you're visiting. And you will return to the old life every single time. You don't want it as much as you think you do. All behavior is goal oriented. Even your procrastination, even your scrolling, even your excuses. You think you're undisciplined, but you're actually pursuing a goal, which is protection. Protection from judgment, protection from failure, protection from being seen trying and not being perfect. So you choose the safer goal, not finishing, not publishing, not risking your ego. You call it, I'm tired. But it's really, I'm scared of the scoreboard. If you stay in the dead end job you claim you hate, it's not because you lack courage. You're pursuing predictability. You're buying social safety. So the truth is, real change requires changing your goals, not your motivational quotes. You're afraid to be the person you say you want to be. You've been hypnotized by your own conditioning, not by a magician, by your environment, by parents, teachers, friends, culture, algorithms. And it happens like this. You want something, you start seeing the world through that lens. You learn what supports it, you act, you repeat, it becomes automatic. You defend it as who you are. That identity sets new goals. Cycle repeats itself over and over and over again. Most people never break it. They never break the loop because when you're a kid, you learn conform equals safety, difference equals punishment. So you grow up with borrowed beliefs, borrowed goals, borrowed fears. Then you call it my personality. No, that's your programming. And you can't build a one-person engine with factory installed software. Your life depends on your level of mind. People evolve through stages. At the lower levels, survival and conformity run the show. At higher levels, you start steering your own ship. Most people never become the strategist. They never become the architect. They stay a character in someone else's story. But you, if you're watching this, you already feel that itch, the sense that you're meant for something much bigger than routine, rent, and coping. Good. This discomfort is the alarm system of your higher self. So intelligence is staring. Here's a definition of intelligence that matters. Intelligence is the ability to get what you want out of your own life. Intelligence is the ability to get what you want out of life. Not IQ, not degrees, not vibes. Staring. I told my mom earlier, we're talking about, I was telling my mom, going deep into my long-term visions, and everything. 20 years. I told my mom I already have everything set out what I want to do in my mind for 20 plus years. As long as I'm going to be on this earth. Everything that I'm going to do every day for the rest of my life, months in, months out, years in, years out. Already in my mind. I already have it written out, everything I'm doing right now. And I was telling my mom how the art of persuasion is very important, especially with her when her building her business and her getting people involved to buy the stuff that she wants to sell. And I told her, I said, persuasion into its broader sense is that, if I can explain it in this very simple way, is really you getting people to say yes to you. You getting out what you want out of people. Intelligence is the ability to get what you want out of life. So the art of persuasion, it correlates with that. So a smart system does this. Goal, action, feedback, correction, repeat. The mark of low intelligence is not being dumb. It's refusing to iterate. Roadblock goes to quit. Criticism, you retreat. Failure, you identity collapse. High intelligence understands something savage. Any person, any problem can be handled on a long enough timeline if you keep correcting. That's why the one-person business model is lethal, because your advantage is speed, iteration, adaptation, but only if you stop worshiping comfort. Tomorrow morning, you need a pen and a paper. Not your phone, not music, not distractions. You're going to do something rare. Think. Write answers to these. What's the dull dissatisfaction you've learned to tolerate? What do you complain about repeatedly but never change? If someone watched your behavior, not your words, what would they say you actually want? What truth about your life will be unbearable to admit to someone you respect? Now build your anti-vision, the future you refuse. If nothing changes for 5 years, describe an average Tuesday. Now do 10 years. What did you lose? Who gave up on you? At the end of life, you chose safety and never broke pattern. What was the cost? Who do you know that's already living that future? What do you feel when you imagine becoming them? What identity do you need to kill to change? What's the most embarrassing reason you haven't changed? What are you protecting? And what is that protection costing you? If you answer honestly, you'll feel this. You'll feel it. That's nausea. That's the inner disgust within you. You're going to be nauseated. Good. That's your nervous system telling you you're not doing this timeline. Now, Now build your minimum viable vision. If you can snap your fingers and be living a different life in 3 years, what does Tuesday look like? What would you have to believe about yourself for that life to feel normal? Identity statement. Here's your identity statement. I am the type of person who such and such. What's one thing you do this week if you were already that person? That's the shell you're stepping into. This is how you're going to interrupt your autopilot. You're going to put a glitch into the loop, into the system. All day, you're going to contemplate what you wrote. And you're going to set phone reminders that ask at, let's say, 11 a.m. What am I avoiding right now by doing what I'm doing? At 1:30 p.m. If someone filmed the last 2 hours, what would they say I'm building? 3:15 p.m. Am I moving toward the life I hate or the life I want? At 5 p.m., what am I pretending isn't important? At 7:30 p.m., what did I do today to protect identity instead of pursue truth? 9 p.m. When did I feel most alive today? When did I feel most dead? This is how you break that spell. This is how you put a glitch into the matrix. This is how you're going to stop that loop. So, at night, journal. I want you to write this. What feels most true about why I'm stuck? What's the real enemy? Write one sentence. What I refuse to let my life become. This is your anti-vision. Write one sentence. What I'm building toward. 1 year lenses. What must be true in 1 year to know I broke the old pattern. Here's your 1 month lens. What must be true in 30 days to keep that 1 year outcome alive? Write 2 to 3 time blocked actions that would the person I'm becoming would do tomorrow. So what 2 to 3 time blocked actions would the person I'm becoming do tomorrow? That's what you're going to do before you go to bed. So your life is already a game. The problem is you're playing on someone else's settings. So write these 6 things on a new page. Your anti-vision, the hell I refuse to live in. Your vision, the life I'm building toward. 1 year vision, my main objective. 1 month project, my current boss fight. And daily levers, my quests, which is going to be your quest. And constraints, rules I refuse to break. Sleep, faith, training, integrity, etc. Now you have a force field. A structure that protects you from distraction, shiny objects, and weak moods. And if you play it long enough, it stops being a plan. It becomes you. Most people don't need another motivational quote. They need a new identity. They need to stop negotiating with the version of themselves that keeps choosing comfort and calling it realistic. If you're ready to enter what I like to say dark mode, do the 1 day reset. Then tomorrow, move like the person you said you want to become. Because in 2026, the road is changing very fast. And the people who win aren't the most talented. They are the ones who can steer. They're the ones who can change their identity. That's all I have for you. If you want more, you know what to do. Keep tuning into this channel. Subscribe, like, comment, share, subscribe. Deuces.